Um, Two questions. Can you fulfill the mitzvah? And this is Parashat Hashem comes to visit Avram, and Rashi says that Levakar Chola, to visit the sick, the mitzvah visiting the sick. Can you fulfill the mitzvah? Let's assume you can't get there. Can you pick up the phone and see how the person is? Does that fulfill the mitzvah of Bikar Cholim?
I heard it does, yes.
Skyping does, right? Yeah, what do you think? Yeah? What do you think?
I don't know.
Don't know?
It depends how, I would think it would depend.
Next
on
best thing.
How good a job a person can do electronically
Okay.
rather than in person.
All right. Okay.
The effort of
I
going
think
there.
it's best to meet in person.
Best,
The effort to go. No.
But let's say you can't meet in person. I would agree it's best to meet in person. I think we can agree on that. But let's say you couldn't meet them in person. Could you fulfill the mitzvah through the phone? I think Ramosha says that you cannot. Now I don't recall why he says it, but I want to share with you, I think my insight into why you could not be used to the mitzvah. Now that doesn't mean, by the way, that it's not a huge chesed to pick up the phone and see how he's doing. It certainly is a chesed, no one's diminishing that, but it doesn't qualify as the category of Bikar Cholim, which is a subset, but a different category than chesed. It's called Bikar Cholim, right? It doesn't go under the general heading chesed. There's a special category called Bikar Cholim. What is a special category? So in this week's parsha begins the words Vaidaber Elav Hashem Elam Mamre. Hashem appears to him in Elam Mamre. And Rashi says the first words Levaker Esachel, to visit the sick. Question is, how did Rashi know that the nature of this visit was to visit the sick? Who told Rashi that? Rashi probably based on the Medrash. But how did the Medrash know? And why did Rashi see fit? Well, again, Rashi doesn't tell us things that he doesn't have to tell us. Why did Rashi tell us that the nature of this visit was visiting the sick? Why? What pushed Rashi to say that? So I'll just share with you two ideas. Number one, when you start, let's say you open a novel, read a novel, you will not find this on the first page or the first sentence. And he said to John, right? Who's he? Right? You don't start with a pronoun. You got to tell us. You got to introduce us to the main characters, and then say. You can't say. And he said to John as the first sentence of a new book, right? Here it says new chapter, new parsha, and Hashem appeared to him. Who's him?
But it's a continuation.
It's
a continuation.
Says good. So once very good.
That's why.
Hold on, very good. Now we're getting there. The Torah obviously says, I expected to use a noodle and figure out if I said a love to him, and I didn't spell who it was, then you say, oh, it must be referring to the person we just got finished talking about, which was Avram. And then I'll say, okay, that's kind of funny. Why is the Torah making me work hard? Why does the Torah want to say, I'm not going to tell you who it was, I want you to figure it out by connecting the dots to the previous parsha? Why would the Torah do that? Because the Torah wants to explain to us the reason why Hashem visited him. Because the last pasuk deals with Avram and his milah. So that's why the Torah wants us to connect to the previous parsha. To understand why in this parsha he's appearing to him, it must be because Avram is sick after the milah, and that's why. Okay, so what cued Rashi was the word love to him. It's a pronoun. Must be, why didn't I tell you who it was? Must be the Torah says, well, assume it's connected to the previous parsha. Why is the Torah making us work hard to figure out that it's connected to the previous parsha? Tell us who it is. Because the Torah wants us to connect that so we can understand that the nature of this visit was directly related to the last week's parsha, which is because of visiting the sick. Got that?
How do we know it happened on the third day?
What?
How do we know? What does it say on the third day?
What do you
It
mean?
said,
Third day after the Brit, he did himself, Ishmael, and the whole.
Yeah.
I mean, is it from the third day?
What are you asking?
No, I mean, is it say anywhere in the Torah
Later on,
that this
yeah.
is on the third day? Because I mean, the tradition is that this happened
Third
on the
day,
third
yes.
day.
Rashi says that. Yeah. Hold on a second. Okay. So before I get there, the second I want to point is like this. That's the kind of the grammatical way of approach how Rashi got. So Rashi tells it because Rashi's bothered by the word love. But there's a philosophical way of explaining it as well. It's based on the morale. If I asked you, why is there mitzvah Bikar Cholim? What do you hope to achieve by visiting the sick? What do you want to accomplish?
there's tradition that visiting the sick takes away 1/60.
Okay, leave that alone. Good. That's
What's
only.
what?
But that might only be true if you're the same likeness that the person's whole bagila. You have to be like really There has to be a lot more to make that happen. But
Distract
give me practical stuff. Don't give me
distract them, change their thinking away from their suffering to
Okay,
something
fair enough.
else.
Give them pleasant conversation. So you distract them. Could you do that by phone? You could do that by phone. Right?
Heck, what?
Yeah.
You could do that by phone as well.
Yeah. Sure,
Okay.
sure.
What else? What is another reason why you visit the sick?
Concern for his well-being.
Huh? Concern for his well-being.
Well-being, yeah.
Excellent. And you want to show you care. Can you do that by phone? I suppose so.
But it means more to them if you show up.
Okay. Maybe. But let's say you can't show up, right? And what about, you might want to find out what their needs are, right? So you can help them. You need this medicine, right? Could you do that by phone? Yeah, sure. Find out what the needs are, right? So a lot of these things seem that you can satisfy by phone as well. But there is one piece that you cannot satisfy by phone. Maral says a beautiful insight. The Maral says, I'm going to say, people are hardwired that they need to be around people. In other words, when a person is sick, not only is he physically ailing, but there's a certain, I don't use the word depression, maybe a strong word, but there's a certain sense of being alone and disconnected, and that itself contributes to that malaise, that feeling of, just being, out of it, because you're out of the loop. You're out of civilization, so to speak. You're out of the loop. You're stuck behind your house, and you're not connected to anything else, right? That itself is a very debilitating, depressing idea. People, now, today, unfortunately, we kind of do everything in our power to avoid human contact. I'd rather text you, call you, Skype you, you name it. But the personal face-to-face time, which is really so important, because that's how we're wired, is something that we've lost a bit of understanding what that's all about. But when somebody's sick and you come visit them, just by being there, there's a certain comfort. I'm back in the loop. I'm connecting to people again. So you almost don't have to say anything to satisfy that requirement. Just your presence makes a difference. In this pasuk, it says Hashem appears to Avram. Does it say what he said to him? No. In fact, does it say next pasuk what he said to him? No. Does it ever say what he said to him? No. Hashem appears to Avram. So what happened when he appeared to him? Why did he appear to him? So Maral says, if the Torah doesn't tell us what he said, it must mean because what he said doesn't make a difference. Well, why would somebody appear to somebody if it doesn't make a difference what he said? Unless the mitzvah is Bikur Cholim. So the reason why Rashi understood that this mitzvah is Bikur Cholim, otherwise it makes no sense. Why would Hashem appear to Avram and have nothing to say? The Torah is teaching us that there's an element to Bikur Cholim which is just lending your presence. And we have to understand what that means. And it doesn't just apply to somebody who's sick, laid up in bed. Sometimes when a person is just kind of depressed or alone, just by showing up, say, the guy's depressed, and you show up and say, I want to come over to you. And you don't have to say anything. Just being there makes a difference. Just being there makes it. So it's not just for the person laying in bed, but just to understand the power and the value of your presence with somebody else when they're feeling disconnected. People, it just lifts their spirits, because as human beings, we need that interaction, we need that interfacing. But that's one of the elements of Bikur Cholim. By the way, while we're in the midst of Bikur Cholim, it's interesting. Normally, you say in Daven every day, Eilo Dvarim She'en Lo Shir, Hapeya, Bikurim, right? Hachnosas Kala, Vayis Hameis, Bikur Cholim. So I think the Steichel asked the question, how come it says Hachnosas Kala, singular, Halvayas HaMeis, singular, and Bikur Cholim, not Bikur Choleh.
Actually, Achnasat Orchim, the way we have it.
Huh?
In Sephardic, we have Achnasat Orchim,
Oh, yeah?
Hashkamat Bet HaKnesset,
Yeah.
and making peace between each of
We say Chnas Orchim, right?
Okay.
Right. We just say Chnas Orchim, but we don't say Bikur Choleh. That's a good question. I think about that also. That's a good question. But why do you say Bikur Choleh, singular? So Steichel points out, and it's really kind of just a nice piece of Muslim insight. When God forbid somebody's sick, that's not the only person that needs attention. The entire family that's drained by the process needs that visit as much as the Chol himself. So there's more than one Chola every time you're visiting a sick person. You have to be in mind, it's not just one Chola, so to speak. All the family that's attending this Chola, it drains them too. They need the attention. They need the chusuk. They need the reinforcement. They need what the Chola needs. They also. So Bikur Cholim is in plural for that reason. Interesting insight. Certainly Makes sense. Okay, so that's one thing. Now I want to ask you one more question. Let's talk about Hachnas Sarchim, which is the mitzvah of hosting guests. Okay, I'm flying in from New York, and I'm really on the way to California. But I stop off in Washington Dulles, and I call up Robert. I said, Robert, do me a favor. I'm in Dulles. I have to get up. I have to catch my next flight 6:00 in the morning tomorrow morning. Do you mind if I come to your house tonight, and I'll sleep by you, and tomorrow morning I'll go back to Dulles? And Robert says, Robert Talbaum, be my pleasure. Come to my house. It'll be an honor, a pleasure. But it's crazy. It's 10:00 at night now. You first get here at 12:00 at night. Get at 4:00 in the morning. Here, you can come to me for, but it's on me. I'm going to pay. You stay in a hotel. There's a hotel right near the airport. I'll pay for your hotel stay. You're hungry? I'll ship food. I'll send food in Uber. I'll give you all the great food my wife just made. Pack it in the car. But I feel bad for you to schlep all the way from Dallas just to have to go back 4 hours later. I'll do this for you because I'd love to do this for you. It's a beautiful gesture on his part, right? Has he fulfilled the mitzvah of Hachnas Zarchim?
No.
No? Why not?
He didn't welcome you into his house.
So what? It's even better. He did me the biggest favor in the world. Instead of schlepping to his house, I'm staying in a beautiful hotel, great food. His wife's food is amazing. That's it. Why not? Huh?
You don't have the personal interaction.
Okay, that true, but is that okay?
Of course, at midnight, between midnight and 4 a.m., I couldn't give much attention to anyone either.
There you go. So there's no need for personal attention anyway. He's just going to sleep. So why is that Hachnas Zarchim? Or maybe it is.
Well, it would tell that the guy is poor or something, that you are buying me a...
No. He says, listen, not poor. No. Listen, I'm just saying, listen, I know you're tired and you didn't think about it. It's on me. Whatever. I have points, hotel, whatever case is. You're right.
He initiated it, not you.
Exactly.
The guy at the airport.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
initiated the request to be his guest.
Right. And he said, listen, you can definitely come to my house. I'd love to come to my house. I have a room ready, no problem. But I'll offer you something better if you want to take it. So I'm not saying don't come to my house. You can definitely, I want you in my house. Absolutely. But I'm just doing it, I'm saving you the time, the schlep.
You could misinterpret it as...
I say, listen, don't misinterpret it. I love you. Please come to my house. But you have this alternative. All right? Let me ask another question. Okay, so that's Hachnas Zarchim. Or it's not Hachnas Zarchim. Avram Avinu, right? We all know what Avram do. Avram was very involved in outreach in Kiev. What did he do? He invites somebody to his house. He'd give them something to eat. They'd say, "Oh, thank you so much." He said, "Don't thank me, thank Hashem." Who's Hashem, right? And then we know how everyone went. So, is that like a bit manipulative? He used the mitzvah of Hachnas Zarchim. It was kind of like a bait and switch, right? Yeah. Come to my house, we'll have a good time, we'll schmooze. And before you know it, he's talking about God, right? I didn't, right? It's kind of a bait. Is he kind of using Hachnas Zarchim as a way to Kirov, right? It's kind of bait and switch, huh?
Yeah, that always bothered me about that story.
Yeah, it bothers you, right? Little bait and switch stuff, right? But is a bait and switch? That's what we have to figure out. Is a bait and switch? Okay, we'd rather assume that it's not by Avram Avinu because there's how, right? Okay. There's no question, if you tell the guy, I'm going to put you up in a nice hotel, give you all the best food, it's a tremendous act, again, of chesed. But it doesn't satisfy the unique feature of Hachnas Zarchim. What is that? Hachnas Zarchim is not just about me feeding you and giving you a place to sleep. It's about, there's something to be said about being home. When a person's home, they feel centered, they feel safe, they feel reassured, they just feel more settled, right? All these things, right? When you're in a hotel, as luxurious as it is, you don't have that feeling of being at home, right? And sometimes we want to escape home. It's kind of strange, by the way. When you're home, you want to get out of your house, go on vacation. When you're on vacation, you can't wait to go back home, right? Well, maybe we'll talk about where that comes from. There's actually a deep neshama concept that's where they're coming from. But leave it alone for now. There's something to be said when you're home that you feel more secure, more settled, more comfortable, right? You just feel you're back at your home base. You're right? Okay. In fact, when you think about it, so the challenge of Hachnas Zarchim is to invite somebody into your home but make it feel like their home. You have the expression, make yourself at home, right? The expression, make yourself at home, is the ultimate goal of Achnas Orchim. That I want you to feel that you're home. I don't want you to feel like you're in a hotel. If you're in a hotel, it's great in terms of, comfort, but you don't have what a home could do for a person. What a home could do for a person, you don't get in a hotel. You don't get that. And so make yourself up. The challenge and the greatness of the mitzvah is to create that environment where the person actually feels at home. And it's a big challenge, I'll tell you why. Everyone loves their own space, and your home is your space. When you open up your space and let somebody else into your space and say, hey, treat it like your space, that's tough to do. That's not easy. It's one thing, it's easier in a way to put them in a hotel. Like, you're not invading my space. When I let you come to my home and I let you into my space and say, I'll let you make it your space, that's a challenge. And that's and that's the art of Achnas Zorchim. Avram was not manipulating Achnas Zorchim for kiruv purposes. The Achnas Zorchim was the kiruv. When Avram opens up his house and he lets someone into his space, that was the kiruv. It wasn't like, okay, now I use that as an excuse to get the kiruv. The kiruv was when the person felt connected to Avram's space. That whole ambiance is what created the kiruv. That wasn't Avram used as a tool. He used the mitzvah. No, the Achnas Orchim was the kiruv. Because if I were able to make you feel at home, so now you're imbibing all the ruchnius that my home is giving to your home now. You follow? That itself was the kiruv. You follow? That's the point. When you invite somebody to house for Shabbos and they're somehow able to feel this is their Shabbos, right? So you're not like using your home as an excuse, right? You invite them to your Shabbos space and now it becomes their Shabbos space. That itself is the kiruv. You follow? It's not a second step that I'm using the thing. Okay. So that's...
Rabbi, I just hope I don't get any calls from 10 o'clock at night when your adults there.
You never know. You never know. I make no promises.
But
yes.
doesn't the thing go on and say that if they refuse to thank Hashem, Abraham would make them pay for it? Is that a joke? I heard that once. Maybe that was a joke.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a joke. Yes.
Okay.
I think I've never heard that.
Okay.
I've never heard that. Okay. Let's talk about stone for a few minutes. Because this Parashat Hashem destroys stone. People, by the way, because the end of the Parashat is the Akedah, so people ask the question all the time. I don't see it. Avram davens for stone. All these Rishoyim. And for his own son, he doesn't daven? Right? Then you hear that question. It's large as a complaint. How can Avram do this thing? So I've heard this more coming from, let's say, Reform circles. They ask that question, kind of, how could this be? What's Avram with it? Religious fanaticism that he wouldn't even daven for his own son? But what's going on? It's a huge mistake. The whole question is a toyus from beginning to end. It's a mistake. There's a difference between Stone and Yitzchak. Stone was being punished. Yitzchak was giving a mitzvah. Of course, Avram should daven to get rid of a punishment, but Avram's not going to daven to get rid of a mitzvah.
Well,
It's two different things. Yitzchak's not being punished. The whole question is a fallacy. This is not a punishment to Yitzchak. This is a challenge to Avram and to Yitzchak.
Was it a punishment to Abraham?
No, chas v'sholom. It's in the science. It's a test, not a punishment.
Baba, you said it was a punishment for Yitzchak.
No.
I thought that's what I just heard.
No. Not a punishment. No. It was a punishment to stone.
But it was a test of Abraham,
Yes.
not Yitzchak.
Well, we'll talk about why not Yitzchak in a second. But it certainly was a challenge, but it doesn't qualify as an assignment. We'll get to it in a second. But the bottom line, it wasn't the punishment to either of them. So I was daven to get rid of a punishment, but that's a mistake. Okay, but let's talk about Stone for a second. A total different topic. Stone, we know, is this really crazy nation, right? Where they discourage all sorts of tourism. If you came, right, you could never invite a guest to your house, right? And they were cruel people. They were just really cruel, demented people. What happened? One day they woke up. How do you become such a cruel people? So first of all, I really think that Stone was kind of the forerunner of a philosophy. I don't know if you're familiar with this. As Chatoni Maskariyam, I mentioned my youthful sins today. When I was in high school, I was very fascinated by the writings of Ayn Rand. Have you heard of Ayn Rand? She was a Russian Jewish atheist, communist atheist, basically. everything typical about a Jew, right? But anyway, her books were fascinating books. I mean, they were big. Some of them were huge. I think Atlas Shrugged is like 2,000 pages long. They're fascinating books. But she basically, it sounds very strange. Her philosophy was the virtue of being selfish. That selfishness is actually a virtue, because only selfish people get ahead in the world.
That's not communism.
What?
That's not communism.
No. This is her own little thing, right? And I'm really taking a whole philosophy and kind of encapsulating. But basically, her bottom line is selfless people that want you to be selfless because they're weak and they need you. But selfish people, they're driven. They're the ones that accomplish in life. That was her basic. There is a concept, not a concept, it's a flawed concept, but there's some that actually believe in the virtue of selfishness. Stone believed in the virtue of selfishness, so to speak. If I tell you something, it's hysterical. I should have brought it in, it's hysterical. I read this maybe 15 years ago. I think it was Newsweek, when Newsweek was still in print. Listen to how crazy this world's gotten. And now you think it's really crazy the way the open-mindedness has gotten so crazy. But in a particular high school, they decided they were going to award students, give them credit if they did some community service and volunteer work. The Ayn Rand Society on that high school said, "Excuse me, how dare you reward them for community service? That means you've decided that being a kind, good, giving person is a virtue. We don't say that. We say selfish is a virtue, and you're not supposed to take sides. You're supposed to be neutral in high school." You hear what's going on? You hear the perversion going on? It's incredible. So what the high school do? Classically perverted, politically correct stuff. And I know you don't believe me. I'll show it to you in print. What they do? They said, "You're right. What we'll do is the following. We'll also insist that anybody that volunteers for the Ayn Rand Society will also get credit." Which makes no sense. It's a total hypocrisy, right? Doesn't make any sense. But that's what it was. That's how crazy it is. Okay, but that was Stone. But I want to explain to you, how does Stone get to that place? How did Stone get to the place of the virtue of selfishness? And how did it get to be so cruel? There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that says, if you look at this Mishnah, Shali shalach v'shalach shalach. If somebody says, what's mine is yours, and what's yours is yours, that's a tzaddik. Shalach shali v'shali shali. What's yours is mine, what's mine is mine. That's a Russia. Shali shali v'shalach shalach. What's mine is mine, yours is yours. That's a Bainity. That's an average guy. He's the average Joe. He's not a wicked person. He's not a righteous person. He's a good guy. He's an average guy. That's one opinion. The other opinion is, no. That person, that's Midas Stone. Now, you can't get a worse label than Midas Stone. Here's a tip to any single guys here. If you look on any Jewish single site, and they describe this person as having Midas Stone, stay away, all right? Pretty simple. Midas Stone means that they are just cruel, disgusting people, right? You can't get a worse label than Midas Stone. So how could it be that you have a difference of opinion that is like so divergent? One says average people. One says stone people. Right? How does that make sense?
It's the slippery slope that it might be average right now, but there's a fear that it will.
I need a high five, buddy. Excellent. Excellent. What the Mishnah is telling us is an incredible thing. When you say shali, shalach, shalach, that's an average person. That is an average person. But it doesn't stay that way. When you're the kind of person that says, I worry about me, you worry about you, eventually you have to turn into a cruel person. Because when you turn a blind eye, when you say, I'm not worrying about you, and they have needs, what do you think that does to you? You develop a callousness, and you end up becoming a cruel person, and it feeds on itself. And then you have to justify why you ignore everybody else's needs, so you become even a crueler person until it becomes totally corrupt and twisted. Right? So the Mishnah obviously teaches a beautiful thing. It seems innocent enough. It's not a bad philosophy. You worry about you, I worry about me. It's not bad. That's a good. That's our philosophy. You worry about you, I worry about me. Says the Mishnah, it doesn't end that way. It ends up Midas Dom. Because a person that's not involved in doing acts of kindness eventually goes the other direction. Because when you turn a blind eye to those people that have needs, it has to develop a cruel streak in you, and it builds on itself to become what Stone became. So Stone may not have started out one day say, okay, let's be cruel. That's what happened. They started out saying, what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine. You stay in your business, I stay in my business. I don't mind your business, you don't mind my business. Not for good, not for bad. I'm not going to bother you, you don't bother me. Sounds like a decent philosophy. It ends up being a cruel philosophy. I'll tell you one thing about Stone, that I don't want to go to the Akedah. Interesting. There was I forgot who it was, I think it was a Noda B'Yehuda, I don't know who it was, I think it was Noda B'Yehuda, that he became a Rav of a city, and he told them, listen, how'd it go? Okay.
Now,
Let me.
we can have one here and you can continue, or you.
Well,
can
let's
join
wait.
us.
Let's wait till they get a minute. Okay, let's see what happens.
Well, I mean, what.
Oh, with us.
Yeah,
Okay, let me finish the
Minute.
story. Okay, well, that my, okay. So just give me a second, all right? Let me finish it. Okay, I think it was like Yehuda. It goes like this: that the people of the town, he was told them this: if you want to come up with a new minig, if you want to take a new minig on, you want to have something new for the city, you got to tell me first. I have to okay it first. Is it fine? So anything new, you want. So the city decided at one point that too many people coming from different towns collecting money. They said enough. We don't want any out of towners anymore collecting that place. That's it. Too much. And they made a decree. Well, they wanted to make a decree. No outside people coming for tzedakah. That's it. So they went to again. I don't remember what it was like. They went to them. And they said, "Okay, we want to come up with this new decree, this new idea. We want you okay?" Because I told you only come to me for new decrees. They said, "Yeah, that's why we're coming to you." Said, no, this is not a new decree. This is stone. This is stone. Stone threw his weight in this, right? Nobody in, right? We're not letting anybody in. So sometimes we can fall into that same fallacy, right? No, don't let anybody. We're only providing for ourselves. We don't provide for anybody else. That's a midas stone mentality. We can't do that, right? You could say Aniyir Hakodem, the city of the poor people of the city come first, take priority, but to totally build that wall and make them pay for it, right? And say no one's coming in. That's midas stone. That's Maj Midas though. We'll stop you from you guys want to stop from Meir? And then we'll a little cave afterwards.
When
What?
Lot and Abraham decided to part, and Abraham said, "If you're going to
Right.
sacrifice," why did Lot choose Sodom?
He did Lot chose though.
Huh?
Lot chose.
Yeah. Oh, why did he? Didn't have intelligence enough to.
No, yeah, he had intelligence, but he had more tigers than intelligence. He saw that stone was Sin City. He wanted it. He saw all the taifa, he saw all the physical pleasures, and he wanted it. This is his way of breaking away from Avram and Hashem. That's what he wanted to do. He knew exactly what he was doing.